Yo, what up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, Will. This is Phantom Frequency, where we dive into the entire multiverse of pop culture, if you will. We've been busy doing a lot of cool new stuff on the channel, and we're getting back into doing our regularly scheduled content around all the new releases and some of that fun evergreen topics y'all like to talk. We like to dive into different stuff, but today it's What's the Word? It's episode 19. We're getting back to doing our pop culture news show, getting into all the big announcements and all that happened over the past week that just happened, including the big game, as they like to say to avoid the copyright, but the big Super Bowl halftime performance with my boy Kendrick Lamar. They not like us. They not like us. Dun, 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 dun. Hip hop history, baby, going down. Terrible ass game as well, but we're gonna get into all the pop culture news. So strap in. It's gonna be a fun one. So let's get into the first and main topic of the show, outside of Kung Fu Kenny himself, but we're talking about Squid Game Season 3, the continuation of the cliffhanger that happened at the end of Season 2. Spoiler alert for all of y'all that ain't caught up yet, but we finally got the release date confirmed for June 27th. They're going to be dropping that whole Season 2 Part 2, essentially, for Squid Game. And I'm fucking hyped on that because I love this last season. And I kind of went back and watched the first couple episodes so far. I haven't dived into the entire first season yet. But even though the first season was incredible and was the first time we ever saw it, something about season 2 to me has really stuck with me and has kind of elevated the show, at least in my personal opinion. Not saying that it's definitively better than the first season, but it feels like I've just become more of a fan after another great, incredible season. So I'm super duper hyped on it. I dug the cliffhanger overall, and I'm glad it's like literally close to, if not exactly 6 months later. So it's not like a super long year plus wait. 6 months to me is a good like cliffhanger waiting period to be like, okay, I wonder what's going to happen. And they have all these things planned out, or at least we hope that they do. The creator, the original creator of the show, he seems like he had this mapped out for a long time, really took his time to find the story that he wanted to tell in order to continue the Squid Game series in a way that he saw fit. And there's all these talks about us making an American remake or some kind of American spinoff, I should say. My apologies there, with one of the greatest filmmakers living today, David Fincher. So a lot of cool things in the works behind the scenes when it comes to Squid Game. A lot of very gimmicky things went on in between season 1 and season 2, with like the game shows and the Beast games and all that other shit. But I'm not necessarily a fan of all that reality show stuff, but really big, huge fan of the series, and seeing how they're going to tie up all these storylines with the guy, with kind of the guy running everything in Squid Game being in the game with Gi Hung. I wonder how that's all going to pan out now that they're aware that he betrayed them and lured them into a trap in order to stop them and probably eliminate them once and for all, so they can continue the games with no potential risk of getting found out by the authorities and getting everything completely demolished in this empire they've built over however long the games have been going on, right? So there's so many interesting ways that they could go with the rest of the series, and I'm wondering if this is going to be the final season as well. Are they going to wrap up the entire series with this season? Part of me kind of hopes they do, just so we can end on a high note. Hopefully they deliver on this, and then we can kind of let them do whatever spinoffs they're going to do and kind of continue it that way if they want. But I feel like ending the main series here with like 3 seasons, kind of doing a trilogy in the sense, but with like seasons of television, a la Avatar: the Last Airbender. I think that would be really fucking awesome. So depending on how things go with this next season is going to determine kind of how this all pans out and how it all lands. But for now, this is definitely one of my favorite Netflix series of all time, one of my favorite TV series of all time so far. And we're going to be getting that third and potentially final season on June 27th, y'all. So keep your eyes peeled and get ready to binge it, man. But we got to keep it going, y'all. And we got some more news to get into here. And we got two of the greats, you could say, or one greater than the other in some opinions as well. But we got Jake Gyllenhaal teaming up with M. Night Shyamalan in order to work on his next thriller. M. Night Shyamalan, that is, who's the director there on your left, for those of you maybe that don't know for whatever reason. And we know he has quite a spotty track record, with his recent movie Trap, making a butt ton of money, but at the same time wasn't necessarily the greatest written film, but it was an entertaining movie nonetheless, in my personal opinion. We didn't do, skipping ahead. We didn't do a full-on review for that, but it is a good movie in my opinion, and I really dug what Josh Hartnett was doing, and some of the direction was really cool, and some of the shot choices and everything. Shyamalan, to me, generally has something going for him in all of his movies, but he has some really bad movies for sure. So that is without a doubt. But overall, I dug Trap, and I'm interested to see what this is going to be about because apparently there's this romance writer that has done like a Walk to Remember, I think, and different things like that, and is really known for doing romance stories. Is working on a novel that M. Night Shyamalan is adapting and going to be making some changes for the screen as well, but it's going to be adapting the same exact story written in this novel that is in the works or hasn't been released quite yet, or is already finished but hasn't been released. You know what I mean? So that is also an interesting thing in and of itself, just to have those two stories gestating kind of at the same time and being written at the same time, I think is hella interesting. And obviously, translating something from book to screen, there's going to probably be some kind of changes or something made there to kind of fit the format of what it's doing, because you got an hour and a half to 2.5 hours to tell the story, where a novel, if you let it play out, could take several hours, 3, 4, or 5 hours to really tell the full on story in all of its context, depending on how long this novel is going to be. Is it going to be more of a Stephen King kind of thing, or is it going to be more of a 100, 200 some page novel? I don't really know. I'm not familiar with the guy's work necessarily, and I forgot to write down the guy's name, the writer that is. But yeah, so all these things are going to tie into each other, and Jake Gyllenhaal, I would assume, is starring in the movie and going to be playing the main character of the film and potentially the main character of the novel, or the which is the main character of the novel at the same time. So I thought it was just an interesting news update that I saw a little just within the last week that I didn't see a lot of, as many people reporting on and kind of discussing out there. So I kind of wanted to throw that out there, see what some of y'all thought about that particular subject. So let me know in the comments below what you think about that one. And moving on to the next story here, Terrifier 4, the script has been written or is getting finalized here soon by Damien Leone. It is confirmed to be happening. And apparently, due to his tweets or his threads post, however you saw it, whatever, he was saying in that, in the Jesus Christ, in the caption, that this is going to tell the origin of Art the Clown himself, which obviously inherently is a risk, but I think is a risk worth taking, because I do think you need to provide a bit more context and some answers for some of this crazy ass what the fuck shit that's going on in these three Terrifier films so far. So I think for wrapping those things up and kind of giving you a sense of where it comes from and what this evil really is, I think if written and handled well, could be really awesome, but still leave some air of mystery to it, in the sense of you don't know everything, but you know enough to get a better understanding of what this has all been all along, and how it all ties in together, and what this has to do with Lauren Lavera's character of Sienna and her family and her dad, and how all this all ties into Art the Clown and the evil that has now essentially she's going to be facing in hell, it seems, in Terrifier 4. I'm not sure exactly how this is going to go, but just the possibilities and the potential of that as a batshit crazy storyline in and of itself, to me, sounds so interesting. So Terrifier 4 can't get here soon enough. I just hope he takes his time, really, just keeps doing what he's doing and does his best to deliver something that's going to be very satisfying for all of us crazy ass slasher fans out there, right? But also, I really just can't wait to see what Damien Leone is going to do beyond the Terrifier franchise. And I hope he puts it to bed for a while, even if he does return to it at some point. I could see the potential and allure of doing that potentially down the line, letting nostalgia and the hype build up and kind of getting back into it at a different time. But at the same time, I really just want to see what he could do in the world of horror and potentially even other genres outside of just the Terrifier franchise, because I think he is a bona fide awesome filmmaker in and of his own right, and tackling some other franchises in the world of horror or his own original ideas, because he was working on something with Sam Raimi's production company Ghost House. So I'm hoping these things that he was working on in between Terrifier 2 and 3, and potentially in between 3 and 4 itself right now in this period, do come to fruition. And I know he was working on something that got announced on Bloody Disgusting not too long ago, like within the last 6 months. So I do hope we get to see some more film projects from Damien Leone beyond Terrifier 4. But of course, with the news in the topic being Terrifier 4, I'm hyped and excited about it. Let me know your hype level for Terrifier 4 down below. Do you want to know the origin story of Art the Clown, or you would just prefer him to leave it alone and think there's no way to make a reasonable explanation? Let me know. But we got another interesting story right here. Oh, I just got a important email right now. Good stuff. Good stuff. I like that. So we got some X-Men casting rumors right here, man, and we got three awesome actors right here that I've seen a good amount of their work. We got Emily Butters there on your left, that is rumored to be in consideration for Kitty Pryde. We have Javier Bardem in the middle, that is potentially being considered for the character of Mr. Sinister, and then we have Hunter Schafer in the right there that is in talks or rumored to be in negotiation for Mystique. So, in my personal opinion, I think these are pitch perfect casting choices. I love all these actors and everything that I've seen them in, especially Javier Bardem having the longer resume of the three actors here. But Hunter Schafer, I've seen recently in things like Euphoria and the crazy ass horror movie from last year, Cuckoo, which really does live up and earn that title. She was great in that film. I haven't seen her work in the Hunger Games stuff, but overall, I think she definitely has like a really cool vibe, and definitely I think fits the character of Mystique very well. And when it comes to Emily Butters, she was literally going toe to toe with DiCaprio in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood at like 10 to 12 years old or something like that. Like, that's pretty crazy, man. So this girl being considered for Kitty Pryde, I think is a great age choice. I think she has great talent and even fits the aesthetic of what I would imagine Kitty Pryde to kind of be like if she came to life from the comics. So that also fits. And then Javier Bardem playing Mr. Sinister to me also fits. I think him playing a villain is an obvious in and of itself. Him playing one of the most iconic ones on film, Anton Chigurh, in the modern era of films, right? So overall, I think he fits that. But being the flamboyant, more smart, kind of cunning and a conniving nature of the character of Mr. Sinister from the comics, from the original animated series and X-Men 97, even as of recently, and really bringing that to life, I think could be done really well with an actor like Javier Bardem. And I think with the right filmmaker, the right script, and the right storyline, and them pulling things together in a way that grounds it enough, but really dives into what makes Mr. Sinister, I think he could really nail that. So I'm a big fan of all these casting rumors right here. None of this stuff is confirmed to be for sure. For sure, we don't know if any of these casting choices are going to happen. There's rumors right now about an X-Men movie potentially popping off in late 2027 after Secret Wars. So there's a ton of things in the works for X-Men right now. They have hired a writer officially sometime last year or in late 2023. So things are definitely in the works for X-Men, and I'm so excited for the mutant saga of the MCU. Regardless of where the next couple years go, I'm still excited to see what the potential of that could be if realized on screen in the right way. But y'all let me know if you dig these casting choices of any of these actors, if you're familiar with them, actors, actresses, whatever you want to say. And do you not like the choices? And if you don't like them, give me some alternate choices you would like in the roles of these characters in the world of X-Men. But yeah, and here we are on the second to last story, which was really interesting and confirmed by her Buffy herself. We getting a new Buffy the Vampire Slayer series sooner rather than later. She was talking to a couple creators like what's her name, Chloe Zhao, and some other people a few years back about working on this and recently, and they're now developing this to potentially be dropping on Hulu or something like that. But they're going to be doing a revival type series of Buffy, which I think would make it season 6 or 7 if I remember correctly. I only seen the series one time all the way through. It was on when I was a kid, but I wasn't necessarily as interested in the time, but watched it a little bit, but just didn't really keep up with the show. But overall, in my early 20s, I finally revisited it when I was like 20, 21 years old and went through all the seasons of Buffy. And I really think those first 2 to 3 seasons of Buffy the Vampire Slayer are some of the best like network TV type of things in the world of genre ever, in my opinion. I really, really dig those first few seasons of the show. I think everything with her getting into college and everything was like really awesome, and dealing with that whole agency and all that stuff that was in kind of the whole monster hunting world and everything. But once it kind of got beyond that point, I think the show started really reaching, and then they had the whole spinoff of Angel going on. And I think it just got a little bit too big for his britches and just kind of went in weird directions. And you had Buffy's younger sister, which was definitely a controversial character at the time, still is within the Buffy fandom. I liked her at times, didn't like her at times. I like the actress, Michelle Trachtenberg. So if they could maybe bring her back and even give her a more cool, sizable role that really fits and just goes overall in a much better vibe and tone with it, I hope is able to be pulled off here. But overall, I'm very much interested in a Buffy revival. I think it's a show that is not necessarily too aged or anything like that, being in the late 90s, 2000s, and could work today and with a modern aesthetic and bit of an update, I think, without losing the spirit of the series, but making it maybe a bit more mature. I think could be also really cool at the same time, since most of the people that grew up watching it would be adults and having kids or potentially kids old enough to watch it that are teenagers or, preteens now. So there's a lot of potential with trying to get a new generation of Buffy fans in on this thing and keeping the original vibe of what really makes the show what it is. And if they're able to kind of bring those things together with Sarah Michelle Gellar on board with her back in the lead role, I think that's awesome. I think that's definitely the way to do it. They've been talking about using a different Slayer and doing like a more of a sequel series and a continuation, which I'm not necessarily against either, and kind of having her be more of a mentor role. But I think doing something where she's at the forefront and maybe passes that on to someone else and they kind of pivot into the series that way and introduce the character within that context and kind of build to a new Slayer to bring the show forward, I think is a much better way to do it. Since we kind of close one chapter, we get closure with the Buffy we know, with the Vampire Slayer that we're familiar with, and getting a new one potentially for a new generation, Cobra Kai style, and really introducing both generations in the show, I think is a much more brilliant way of doing it. The Scream franchise did this recently, and I think did it pretty effectively, and looks like they're going to be doing it all over again with Sydney's daughter and her friends in Scream 7. So I think there's so much potential for them to do this sort of thing with this revival series. So y'all let me know if you're hyped for this down below in the comments. And not to go on this for too long, but we got to get into the freaking halftime performance from Kung Fu Kenny, baby. It was crazy, man. Kendrick's halftime show, the first solo hip hop artist to ever headline the Super Bowl, man. And I gotta say, it was fucking awesome, man. And just getting to see how he did, kind of like made it like a exclamation point on this whole last year or so with the beef with Drake and with everything going on with his album GNX and everything kind of building to this moment in his career and where his headspace has kind of been at in this last year and a half, I thought was really awesome. But Kendrick Lamar is also going to come with a lot of symbolism and storytelling in anything that he's doing, because he never does anything without a purpose. And all my real hip hop fans, and especially Kendrick Lamar fans, know that's the truth. And I'm just going to front of the Louvre. When I have a soul, even if I told you to stand next to Johnny and Q. Woo, man, that was just the opening where he did like an untitled track off of like the snippet song that we heard in the GNX preview that they dropped on YouTube on the PG Lang channel and all that stuff. So getting to see how Kendrick Lamar put this all together, with SZA obviously being the special musical guest. We had Samuel L. Jackson as Uncle Sam in there. Fucking awesome. He's one of my all-time like top 3, top 5 actors ever. I love Sam L. Jackson. So getting to see him be a part of this was so fucking awesome. I've been a Kendrick Lamar fan for like 12 to 13 years of my life. That's my favorite rapper living today, and potentially my favorite rapper of all time, man. So I was definitely all in on this performance. My only real complaint as a Kendrick Lamar fan, as a hip hop fan, and as a fan of hip hop culture, I just wanted to see some of those older kind of, classics from Kendrick, some of those big anthems like an I or a King Kunta or an All Right, you know what I'm saying? That also ties into a lot of the themes and things that he was bringing out in this overall halftime performance, man. But just the overall PlayStation game over imagery, Serena Williams coming in doing the fucking sea walk, which has a lot more of an ironic statement, I think, than y'all are really paying attention to, and I think has a lot more multiple layers to what the purpose of that was. And I think y'all are just kind of reaching on the surface on that particular point. But just my theory, I could be off on a rocker with that one, just putting that out there. But yeah, there's so much symbolism and so much of just like American satire, and just a big message of where Black Americans are at, and where how we're feeling and what's going on, and what the state of kind of the mantra of just kind of carrying things forward and trying to be the original intent of what the entire thing of like being woke was just being aware and keeping your head on a swivel, and just being adverse to the propaganda and bullshit out there. And now that it's been weaponized and used for such negativity, we kind of gotten away from that in the Black communities and in minority communities and just in the public today in general. So that whole term just got kind of co-opted and kind of ruined, and the entire intent of it was lame. But this kind of performance is something that I think really speaks to a lot of the themes and things from that original intent of that, and just kind of drawing symbolism and using entertainment, turn your TV off, really pay attention to what's going on, but at the same time, relishing and celebrating in the success of Kendrick's career, and really seeing how far he's been able to take the culture and how far the culture has been able to come in order to be at this point now, and him doing this performance at the show. So I think there's just so much great symbolism and so much great storytelling and so much of a great production value that went into all the shots and the choreography and everything. So this is definitely one of the best halftime performances. Not the best. I would definitely put Prince up there. I think the Dre and Friends was even a little bit cooler than this, just with the fact of all those people being there with Kendrick, adding in his sauce with the new and the old stuff, and a little bit more of the older stuff at the time, pre-GNX, pre-battle. But it was still incredible stuff. And obviously, this is going to be one of the most controversial things ever with the Not Like Us moment. I absolutely love it. That's NWA playing Fuck the Police when they got arrested. Levels of just fucking true hip hop, the real spirit of hip hop, being about making a statement, being about speaking the truth and saying it without sugarcoating that shit and standing on business. So that to me is what absolutely made the performance next fucking level. But yeah, man, it is time for me to sign out of here. Peace out, y'all. Catch you on the next episode. Much love. And until next time, stay safe. Peace.